Welcome, it's Indisputable. I'm your host, Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, my contributor, none other than attorney at law, Adrienne Lawrence, TYT contributor and author. Should be a fascinating breakdown. Top story of the day. Campaign ad accusing Herschel Walker of pulling out a gun and putting it to the head of his wife, well, now ex-wife. According to her, he did this move multiple times, including choking. He had a fascination with knives and guns and was generally abusive. Now, this is not actually contrary to the narrative of Herschel Walker. I will explain, but here's the video.
Do you think you know Herschel Walker? Well, think again. Listen to what his ex-wife had to say about him.
His eyes would become very evil. The guns and knives. I got into a few choking things with him. The first time he held the gun to my head, he held the gun to my temple and said he was gonna blow my brains out.
This was actually created by a Republican political action committee. This Republican PAC is anti-Trump and by extension anti-Herschel Walker. The information contained in the ad is seemingly true, very true. So much so that Herschel Walker basically admitted to this in a previous book he wrote, and he said this was part of his personality disorder. But according to Herschel Walker, he has been healed of this personality disorder by a man named White Jesus. And now he's absolutely 100% okay. That is contrary to what his business associates have recently said about the would-be senator if he wins this election. Let me give you background. A brutal new political ad targeting Georgia Senate candidate Herschel Walker focuses on his alleged abuse of his ex-wife. Her name is Cindy Grossman. The ad, produced by the Republican Accountability Project PAC, shows archival footage of an interview she did after the publication of Walker's book back in 2008. The name of his book is Breaking Free: My Life with Dissociative Identity Disorder. His wife filed the divorce, the ex-wife Grossman filed for divorce in December 2001 and returned to court in 2005 for a protective order after Herschel Walker repeatedly said that he wanted to kill her and he was going to, in fact, murder her boyfriend. Walker stated unequivocally that he was going to shoot my sister Cindy and her boyfriend in the head, her sister said, according to court records that have been made public. Walker currently trails Democratic incumbent Raphael Warnock in polls by roughly 4.4 points. Now that's according to Real Clear Politics. Now let me give you an aggregate count because some people get excited about that 4.4. Let me be very clear. First of all, polls are not predictions, they're snapshots. So never get so fascinated by polling data that you forget they still have an election to run. Number two, if you take an aggregate of the last 7 polls and combine them, Herschel Walker is only down 2.9 points. 2.9 points, well within the 5-point margin of error. That's an important dynamic to remember. What that means is just as easily as Walker is down 2.9 to 3.3, maybe 4.4, he could be up that amount as well based on the margin of error. So all of this polling data shows him within the margin of error. And in addition to that, there's a third party candidate, a libertarian named Chase Oliver. Chase is running as a pretty strong single digit third party candidate in this election. Republican political action committees are already, many of them are already backing the third party candidate, trying to force a runoff between Warnock and Herschel Walker. Why? Because they believe that Herschel Walker, their candidate, has a better opportunity to win the election in a runoff scenario. So far, none of the men are breaching 50% plus one, which is the prerequisite in Georgia to give you your mandate to govern. Not 51%, but 50% plus one vote. And virtually none of these candidates in survey data, none of them have come close to that. All right, there's more. Walker scandals, incoherent statements, blatant hypocrisy, allegations of abuse, all seem eerily familiar. Trump's 2016 victory and his long-lasting influence in the GOP is partially due to the fact that voters embraced his style of politics. His status as a reality TV celebrity did not hurt either. Now let's talk about hypocrisy. Obviously, there are loads of hypocrisy with Herschel Walker. He said we need better fathers, especially black fathers, and he was an absentee father himself. He talked about black empowerment and owning black companies, and he employed hundreds, he employed 4. He talked about graduating from college, he never did. He talked about being in the FBI, he never was. He talked about being a sworn deputy, never happened. Lies, lies, and more lies. Well, his mentor or master, Donald Trump, has taught him very well. And this has not harmed his political outlook with Republican voters. He is still very much so their favorite here. Let me go to another hypocritical individual, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. Now, this governor says that gun-free zones are dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. We need more guns. He's pro-constitutional carry, guns, guns, guns. However, the insider has discovered that Governor DeSantis has a gun-free zone policy to protect his own safety. So while he's traveling America in Arizona, Ohio, Pennsylvania, firearms will be strictly prohibited at his events. And it isn't liberals who are showing up to greet the Florida guy with an AR-15, conservatives. So literally, you have a governor who supports guns in the classroom, teachers having guns, guns in churches, guns everywhere. But as far as his personal policy, when he travels the country, no guns allowed. Wait a minute, Governor. I thought you said gun-free zones are dangerous. There's more. Another height of hypocrisy, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA. Turning Point USA will be hosting Unite and Win. Let's put up a picture of Charlie. They're gonna host this Unite and Win events with candidates, including DeSantis, Carrie Lake, JD Vance, Blake Masters, and others. The event says there is to be no, and they write it, CCW. Wait a minute, what is CCW? That means concealed carry weapons, okay? They are not allowed to carry concealed weapons at these various events being sponsored by Turning Point USA. Ironically, TPA, Turning Point USA, has shared memes mocking such zones in the past. Hypocrisy on top of hypocrisy. So while they can understand the logic of having restrictions on guns for their own personal safety, they seem to not understand the logic as it relates to creating policy to make sure individual citizens are safe in public spaces as well. Wow. Adrienne, attorney at law, make it make sense. These individuals are antithetical to the policies they proclaim publicly. How did that happen?
Oh, well, I would just say, arguably, members of the GOP, it's like this, almost you have to be a hypocrite in order to qualify. It seems to be even so more the case. I understand to a certain extent, integrity is an important part of just being a human being. That's a decent one, but it just seems too often that members of the GOP do not hold that quality at all. And we're seeing it in their actions, which seem to definitely be inconsistent with their words. And it really does show you that their goal is largely to push an agenda that they themselves do not necessarily subscribe to. And as a result of that, to shape and to control us, as opposed to walk with us and to enact policies and principles and aspects of legislature that are reflective of our own beliefs as we the people. And it's a very scary thing. And so as people continue to align themselves with this party on the right, what they are aligning themselves with are people who will hold them to standards that those individuals alone will not necessarily live by. And you're going to see considerable hypocrisy in their actions, as well as duplicity that will cause the downfall of our nation.
"13 days ago, I said right here on Indisputable that I've concluded the DOJ is criminally investigating Donald Trump. Well, they are. Now, here's what's interesting. All of a sudden, after his property gets raided by the FBI, Republicans are anti-police. They are pro-defund the police, and they are outraged, according to them, by the weaponization of politics against a particular individual. Now, remember, these are the same people that said, lock her up, referencing Hillary Clinton, and wanted her to be prosecuted by then FBI Director Comey. To give you an idea of the breakdown of Republicans, here's a little something for you.
Guys, I'm pissed. We are a nation of law and order, and this raid by the FBI on President Trump's home is totally un-American. This is Gestapo crap, and it will not stand.
Alex, it's a very, very sad day for America. This is the kind of thing you expect to see in Soviet Russia, Nazi Germany, communist Cuba, but not what you would expect to see in the United States.
This is the worst attack on this republic in modern history, period.
This is some third world right here. Let me say it again, third world. I mean every word of that. I don't care that it's cable news. I was a federal agent. I raised my right hand, and I swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, and I love this country. This is a freaking disgrace.
This is the first time in my lifetime that I would say I am deathly afraid for Donald Trump. I would not put assassination behind these people.
Yeah. Okay. So let me give you some background, connect some dots here, show you the irony of all of this. Number one, none of the Republican supporters of Donald Trump are talking about the classified documents he must have in his possession. Even Donald Trump, in his own statement, he's really not pushing back on the fact that they did remove documents he should not have had in his home. Now, remember, a few months ago, we learned that he took roughly 15 boxes of things that the National Archives said, hey, we need to search those and we need you to give those back. Well, he said he did and called it a routine thing, basically normative activity between the archive office and a former president. Well, that's not the case. So the former president confirmed, obviously, that the FBI did in fact raid his property at Mar-a-Lago and said, they even broke into my safe. Yeah. He was at Trump Tower in New York when the search warrant was executed in Florida. A person familiar told CNN, my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided and occupied by a large group of FBI agents, Trump said in a statement Monday evening. The FBI raid was a part of an investigation into the handling of presidential documents. I'm going to get into that in a moment. It included classified documents that may have been brought there. 3 people familiar with the situation told CNN. The extraordinary move to search the home of a former president raises the stakes for the Justice Department and comes as Trump's legal troubles continue on multiple fronts. Trump is also expected in the coming months to announce that he will launch another bid for the White House in 2024. Now, why is he waiting? He's waiting because he's such an unpopular individual in general elections that if he announces he's running right now, it will in fact harm conservatives in the midterm. So he, based on the strategy, is going to wait. Now, does that mean he won't change his mind? Of course not. The guy's a loose cannon. Outrage from lawmakers. So here's what one Republican representative said. He said, it's time for us in the Florida legislature to call an emergency legislative session and amend our laws regarding federal agencies, sever all ties with DOJ immediately. Any FBI agent conducting law enforcement functions outside of the purview of our state should be arrested upon sight. Marjorie Taylor Greene put it this way: defund the police, I mean the FBI. Yeah. Even Trump supporters have been gathering outside of his estate because Trump is their cult leader. That's called occultic behavior. Okay, let's be very clear. The department in charge of this raid, they deal with national security documents typically, which means 9 times out of 10, if they are conducting a raid, if they're in charge of the investigation, it's because you are mishandling classified information. Now, I have to pose this question, and some of you may say, well, Doc, that's extreme. Keep this in mind. Donald Trump was told to return these documents multiple times. He did not. If the DOJ sends federal agents to raid your home, that means it has gone through a bureaucracy which includes probable cause evidence, it includes a judicial signature, and it includes the premise that they believe if they actually send a subpoena to compel the production of these documents, Donald Trump will either A, destroy the documents, or B, try to hide them. Okay, you know how much it takes to get one of these warrants, period? Much less get a warrant like this against a former United States president. Once again, nobody is pushing back on the fact that Donald Trump was in possession of information or classified documents he never should have had. I posed the question, what was his intent with this classified information? Was this negligent, corrupt capitalist willing to trade some of this information for profit? You have to pose these questions at this point. Why did he not return it? Why did he take it in the first place? Why was there a raid? Why was there a good faith basis to assume that he would not produce the documentation by way of subpoena? All right, to help us answer those questions, obviously our legal analyst and attorney at law. Adrienne, this is a big deal. You and I talked about this offline yesterday. How much of a big deal is this, and why is it that the DOJ did not simply serve him a subpoena to produce these documents?
Well, I would definitely agree with your conclusion about DOJ not serving Trump with a subpoena, because he does have a history of trying to destroy items, as that story broke yesterday about him trying to flush things down the toilet at the White House and at other locations. Also, he has a history of taking documents that do not belong to him and that should not be within his control, whether they are classified or not. The thing that I find to be really interesting here in terms of DOJ, one of the reasons it may not have subpoenaed him is, well, given his criminal history, but also the fact that they, like you noted, already had given him notice. The fact is that back in February, when they had taken those 15 boxes and returned them to National Archives, he already knew. So it told you to some extent that the documents that he continued to maintain and to keep in his possession, that he was doing that intentionally and knowingly, which is very different from the situation with Hillary. Also, we want to bear in mind that with 18 USC 2701 or 2071, that it makes it not only illegal to keep these documents, but also if somebody is convicted of this, that they serve up to 3 years, potentially in prison with a fine, but also that they can never run for office to be a member of whether it's Congress or for presidency. So in the event that he is actually convicted of having these documents, whether he serves time or not, it means that he would not run on that 2024 ticket. And I will also note that the reason he hasn't more than likely announced his candidacy for 2024 is because he doesn't want to abide by campaign finance laws. The fact is that he can continue to collect money going out on these little campaign, CPAC, and all the other speaking trails, and he can get those donations without having to abide by the campaign finance laws. And so he just gets to essentially pocket that through one of his PACs or anything else that he has set up, so or nonprofits. This man is focused on money, and I wouldn't be surprised if he had those documents in his possession because he was going to use that information at some point against someone.
Isn't that so interesting, so fascinating, and so sad that we have a former president of the United States holding on to obviously classified information, refusing to give that information up under multiple investigations? As I said, this guy's going to be a defendant until the day he dies of some sort. A cop declined to intervene when a woman was being sexually assaulted right in front of him. This is hard to watch. It's from New Orleans. Here's the video.
Like this poor girl. I mean, I'm gonna get up there faster than the cop is.
And is anyone in danger right now?
I mean, yeah, she's being crazy.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we just have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. One moment. Oh,
I mean, the police officer isn't even moved. He's still just parked here. What the f are y'all doing?
Ma'am, this is, if I could, I can't speak
really
freely on,
I
understand,
dramatic.
ma'am.
And,
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I'm literally about to be back there, and this officer hasn't even moved, and these two police officers just drove past, shone the headlights right on her, and just continued to drive.
Yes, ma'am. Are you headed back to that location?
Yeah.
Okay, if the suspect's nearby, just keep quiet, stay out of sight. But I don't want you to put yourself in. He's gone? He's gone now, man?
I mean, yeah. Gone, yes. This stop is still a block away, and this girl got raped on the street corner. Literally got raped on the street corner. These cops drove right past her. She's like dead on this street corner. What the f? Yo, there is a cop a block away.
We're about to start CPR on her. She does not have a pulse.
Ma'am? Hello?
Hey, wake up. Get up. Okay, it's okay. You're okay. You're okay.
She's alive, ma'am?
Hey.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what's going on with her?
She's just passed out on the street corner. She just got raped on the street corner. I told you what's going on with her. She's like cursing.
That's hard to hear. This is such an unfortunate story. New Orleans police officer was in vicinity, right in that location, did absolutely nothing. Now, ironically, the witness happened to be a respiratory therapist, gave CPR. The victim regained consciousness. Now, here's some details to that horrific incident. A New Orleans police officer was flagged down late on a recent Tuesday night in the French Quarter by a witness who delivered a distressing message. A block away, she saw a man raping an unconscious woman in plain view on the street corner. But over the next 3 minutes, the officer chose not to budge. According to her phone log, the woman reported the crime to authorities at 11:19 p.m. That was July 26th, near the intersection of Royal and Toulouse streets. The dispatcher had asked the witness to notify an officer. The witness spotted parked in a nearby squad car while she finished dispatching the call. A 911 call shows the dispatcher did not enter the call into the system until 11:21, more than a minute after the call began. It took roughly another minute for police to dispatch a unit. The 911 call ended with the dispatcher telling the witness an officer would be there as soon as possible. By that point, the woman had put her phone down and was talking to the victim. "You're okay," she said. "I got you, baby. You're okay." The Lens obtained the audio and shared it with the Times. The New Orleans advocate for the newspaper reported Monday that the New Orleans departments of sex crimes detectives are swamped with cases, and the unit has a clearance rate of 1 in 20. Now, let me put up a picture of the spokesperson, all right, for the New Orleans Police Department. His name is Gary Sheets, all right? Sheets said the first responding officer arrived at 11:24 p.m. and an additional unit arrived a minute later. Sheets wouldn't say if the department believed the flagged officer violated a department policy or is under investigation. Also, Sheets declined to name the cop and said the ones who responded acted appropriately. He did not say whether the responding officers included the officer the witness had begged for help. So you already see what they're doing here. They're covering up for the negligent cop by pointing to the cops who did respond and saying, "Oh, well, the responding officers, they acted appropriately." You have a bad cop who did not act appropriately, obviously. You have a corrupt cop, more than likely. Why did the cop just remain there? Was he protecting the individual who was committing the criminal activity? You have to now ask these questions. There's more. In an interview, the witness said the officer never joined any of them. Sheets said police are still investigating the incident and did not name the suspect. The victim is not ready to be part of the investigative process. And who would? There's already a rape culture in America where typically the violators will receive a benefit of the doubt. You have the police that basically decided to watch, did not provide any assistance at all, not really giving the victim a lot of confidence in the system. According to the witness, the suspect was a black male and the victim was a black female. The superintendent, let's go to Ferguson. Sean Ferguson here is the superintendent. The buck stops with him, okay? So now here's what we're saying needs to happen. You don't have a vigorous response from law enforcement. You have the beginnings of what seems to be a cover-up. You have a victim who was afraid to cooperate with law enforcement because there's no confidence in their ability. Now, Adrienne, let me ask you this as an attorney. We know that the Supreme Court has upheld, basically, cops have no duty to protect you, which is insane. But a cop who's literally watching a criminal act like this, doing absolutely nothing, is there any level of negligence, criminal negligence or civil negligence that should be applied here against this officer and against the department by extension?
Oh, I definitely think it should, but I don't know necessarily that it can be, unfortunately. The fact that we have a Supreme Court who has said cops don't have a duty to act, to care, to protect, to take care of, even though their job, last I checked, was to protect and to serve. The fact is that if they are not doing their job appropriately, it seems that the only recourse really in this situation is their termination or suspension. But as far as I'm concerned, that's insufficient. I believe that law enforcement officers should be treated much like lawyers, much like doctors, where you're held to a standard and there can be negligence in your actions. Unfortunately, we have a system that is set up to protect law enforcement such that we really do not, we're kind of rolling the dice when we call for help. We don't know if they're going to actually protect us and actually do their job, since they really don't have any kind of consequences in the event that they don't, especially when you have police unions protecting their employment. So it's really another shortcoming of our government, but unfortunately it can mean life or death.
And now you have a victim who's afraid to cooperate to prosecute this crime. Because of the negligence of law enforcement. We have more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay. All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Let me read some of these beautiful, amazing comments. Don't forget to join. You can join Indisputable on the YouTube page. Would love to engage with you even more right there, all right? Multiple levels. Okay, don't forget, we got that primary coverage. We got it happening today. Tune in 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. I will be there. Jank, John, a whole lot of people. We got Connecticut, Minnesota, Vermont, Wisconsin. Watch on tyt.com/live, YouTube, Facebook, and our Twitch platforms, okay? Love to see you there this evening. All right. V says, Herschel Walker reminded me of OJ with those words. Whoa, yeah. I Am Sock says, the Republican Party is like an unfunny version of Jackass. Yeah. Seattle Dragon, abusing his wife and threatening with guns. Why would that dissuade Republicans? Isn't that right up their alley? Of course. And it hasn't dissuaded them. He has not lost any Republican support whatsoever. CM Gould, the safe was packed with Big Macs and Adderall. Talking about Donald Trump's safe, that's really funny. Chaplain Fred, AKA Prayer Dragon, how funny is it when the tables turn? All Trump goons calling it Nazi Germany. I am sick to my stomach hearing this, Dr. Richey. Blessings to you, Doc, and blessings to you, Chaplain. Keep praying for us, okay? All right, thank you so much, Maurice, for becoming an indisputable member. We got Moon Dragon, 3 months. Thank you so much, Moon Dragon. Moon Dragon says, I think even white Jesus would dispute Herschel's claims. I know. John Williams, welcome to Antigua. Great membership. Thank you so much for joining. All right, got something for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Yeah, I have you.
Anybody.
I have you on camera, and I have you.
I'm not threatening you. I'm going to go there and cut that.
Is this your plant? Is this your property? No, it's not. It would be against the law for you to climb that wall and to cut these plants.
I'm gonna cut it down if I have to blow up the goddamn place.
Okay, now you're threatening to blow up the goddamn place? I'm calling the cops, Diane.
You goddamn bastard son of a bitches.
You too, Diane. Have a good day. I'm gonna send this to the city and send this to the police department. Have a good evening. Good. Have a good night. I'm gonna have my cameras set, so if anything happens, I'll know exactly who did it.
I'm gonna get a hold of that goddamn... I can't get a hold of Entourage. They won't answer their phone.
Diane, all you had to do was ask me for their number, and I would have given it to you.
Then give me another number.
Okay, I will. But what incentive do I have to give it to you now that you've treated me like this? I have no incentive to give you any positive politeness at all, do I? You were nothing but rude and belligerent. Have a good day, ma'am.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
Damn it, Diane, this is getting out of control. Diane was going to climb over a wall to cut down plants. And when approached, this particular Karen said, well, I'll just blow them up. Wow, I got to give it to this guy who was recording. He kept his cool the entire time. I must admit, when I first saw this, I said, this cannot be real. This seems like a character out of an SNL skit. This was so extreme, but it looks like apparently it was legit unless I get other information. Let's put up the full mass here right before. All right, Adrienne. Obviously, criminal trespass is happening here. So that's number one. If the individual would have successfully cut the plants of their neighbor while criminally trespassing, would that also be a destruction of property charge?
Oh, without a doubt, absolutely. The plants, even though they are plants, just like pets or lawn furniture, any of those things, they are property and they belong to that homeowner or that resident. And it's kind of wild because Diane gives this big NIMBY, not in my backyard energy, yet I have so much NIMBY toward her. Get out my backyard. I do not understand her willingness to feel that she is entitled to climb that wall and ignore that division and feel she can cut down the plants. It's wild to me, but she definitely needs to get some help and maybe some handcuffs, because if she does not learn that that's unacceptable, we're gonna have a big problem, because fences keep good neighbors, and Diane is not a good neighbor.
Not a good neighbor at all. All right, I got something for everybody. Double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Don't care to get you swimming my dog over in the parking lot the other night. You. We've watched her for 9 years. 9 years.
Hey, we're here first. We're here first.
Illegitimate. Let's get Lamigra here. Let's get ICE here, right? Huh? You got a problem with it? You got a business license? You got a license from the health department? No, you don't, do you? You know me. I haven't been in your face in a while.
You should be embarrassed.
They can't even.
You should be embarrassed. You should be embarrassed on yourself.
Real grown up.
A grown man acting like a little kid. Get out of here, bro.
Hey, get out, dog. Hey.
All right, Karenicity in this one runs deep. His actions were in fact criminal. He should have been arrested. Hopefully this video will create a sentiment of justice. This is once again the equivalent of demanding freedom papers. Do you have your business license from a person who has no authority to even request these things from a vendor? Are you approved by the health department? And then he goes on to his bigotry. And then he says, I haven't been in your face in a while, which indicates he has harassed this person before. So this activity is actually habitual. What you just saw, ladies and gentlemen, was an elderly white bigot who has been living on privilege for many decades. And when you are accustomed to privilege, as we say, equality looks like oppression. So why is it that this male Karen is so antithetical to a vendor that's in front of him? And why has this action been so continual? Well, he showed at the end, he really just wants to destroy things. He starts to destroy the property of this vendor. Let's put the picture up full mass here. All right, we're still trying to collect information on this particular male Karen, seeing how this male Karen conducted himself in a criminal manner. All right, maybe an intervention is required. Okay, attorney, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I definitely was automatically drawn to his LA hat, thinking he might be in Los Angeles, in part because, Los Angeles is 48%, nearly 50% Hispanic. And the fact that you're targeting these individuals who are street vendors, like that's just, it's like you're pretty much in the minority there. What are you doing? And on top of that, it's like this individual is clearly exercising their privilege to try to make other people feel unsafe and insecure, and as though that they will face some kind of punishment or sanction in some way just for existing and trying to do their business and to earn a living wage. It really just speaks to some of the hate that people bring with them when people are not bothering them, not doing anything, yet they will go out of their way to really just perpetuate this hatefulness, this disgusting nature that is truly a problematic aspect of our society. And we see that it will show up even when it is completely and totally unprovoked.
Very well said. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay. All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show. Let me read some of these comments. V says, Diane's neighbor needs a barbed wire fence. Ouch. Yep. Aaron Okinos, insane what prolonged exposure to anger and hate does to you. Yeah. Candace DeLeo, wall climbing Karen, looked like Pat from SNL. You are so right. You are. That's the reason I thought it was actually fake. I said, this has to be that iconic SNL skit. Okay. RX Ooze, welcome to Indisputable. Thank you so much, RX. Donald James X membership for 3 months already says, thank you for your service, Doc. If you educate us on all breeds and gender of Karens, so we know how to handle them when engaged with them. Thank you so much. We appreciate you as well. Rylan N gifted 5 indisputable memberships. Thank you so much for that in advance. We'll appreciate those gifts, okay? Mike Boy Rap says, judging by how long it's taking to get down, it probably took Diane an hour to get up there. I tell you, Karenicity and determination, All right. Anti-Karens unite.
You're screaming at employees at Walmart. Get out of here.
That's racist.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
The United States doesn't have an official language, jackass. The masculine name you have. How old are you? Doesn't matter.
My pronouns are she, her, though.
She, heard?
Yeah, she, heard.
What do you think my pronouns are?
It's really not any of my business, unless you want me to know them.
Why did you tell me your pronouns?
Well, because for me, I'd like to be addressed, by my pronouns, so.
What are your pronouns?
She, heard.
Do you have a vagina?
I don't know. That's kind of my business. Do you?
You don't need to be asking each person.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to ask.
You're the one asking me what gender I am.
I didn't ever ask you that.
You're asking my pronouns.
I didn't ask that either.
Do I look like a man?
I don't know what you look like.
Do I sound like a man?
Maybe, I don't know.
Do I stand like a man?
What does a man stand like? Oh, then I guess no.
You millennial bitch. I'm a female. You're a female too. Can you please just leave?
You gotta go.
Leave my
Get out of here.
Leave my alone.
Get out of here.
Oh, there's more. You don't want to go anywhere. It's a doozy. So this is a Cincinnati Karen. Her name is Ariel. Allegedly accused a Mexican restaurant of serving her cat meat before she began yelling at the workers, which included Iris, the anti-Karen that you see. There's more video. Here it is.
Leave! So disrespectful.
Absolutely disrespectful.
Yes, disrespectful.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I want you to leave. Are they on their way?
Well, you guys have been talking to me ever since I told you that I've
been sitting here yelling, throwing things. It's not necessary. You're throwing out there and making threats.
What did I throw?
You might not remember, but like 10 things.
I was trying to pick it up. Thanks for picking it up for me, bitch.
It's my job. You know, I'm getting paid too.
Oh, nice. When are the cops gonna get here? Which district?
Doesn't matter. We're gonna find out. Are you friends with some of them? What?
I actually know District 1, District 2, District 5.
Well, then you probably have nothing to worry about.
No, I can't wait till they get here.
Okay.
Why don't you go to work? You're just standing out here.
I'm at work. I'm getting paid to stand out here and catch the breeze. We're making sure. Yeah, that's me.
Proud to own it.
Only one of us is making money right now.
So this particular Karen said she knows the police. She's waiting. As a matter of fact, she seemed excited for them to come. She knows police officers in District 1, District 2, and District 5. Well, the police arrived. Here's what happened.
Yeah, record me. Are you recording? You sneaky bitch. Are you recording me right now?
I'm holding my phone.
Okay, good. Call 911.
They're already on the way.
Perfect. Can't wait to talk to the officer. Stop!
Another unfortunate episode of when keeping it Karen goes wrong. We have some background here. Let's get into it. Let's put up the picture full mass here. This particular Karen in all of her glory. All right. So Iris states that though the woman appeared to potentially be having maybe a mental health episode, she was saying things that made both Iris and customers at a nearby restaurant feel completely unsafe. First, she accused the local Mexican restaurant of serving them cat meat or her cat meat instead of chicken. Ariel then allegedly began throwing rocks at the window of the restaurant and threatened to return to the restaurant with assault rifles. Iris and friends then blocked the restaurant door, leading to what you saw in the video. They're trying to be protective of the establishment. Why did Karen use homophobic slurs? That's a question. So Iris clarifies this in a later video that she is cisgender and assumes that Ariel defaulted to these insults as they all, and this is a quote, looked very gay, okay? And so this was just a repeat, basically, of some of the other insults that had been going on that day. The individual obviously was taken away from that facility. We do not have any confirmation if there was a mental health diagnosis or not, but we are aware that that kind of action, that kind of derogatory language is wrong, period, any day of the week. Adrienne, thoughts here?
Absolutely, it is incredibly wrong. Also, it's very scary for individuals who are on the receiving end of that because you don't know if that person's gonna escalate to violence. We saw that woman pacing back and forth and she would not go away. Also, with the statement she was making, it really seemed that there was a potential for it not being safe. And so I'm glad that law enforcement was able to respond and that they did remove her as, without a doubt, she may not have been a threat, but she damn sure was a nuisance. And it's just really unfortunate that people engage in these antics regardless of their mental health status at all. It's really, really unfortunate and it's very scary. And it reminds you how our society still continues to wage attacks on members of the queer community.
Yeah. I have an update to a story we covered a few weeks ago. Remember the woman who was pulled over by the police? She showed them a white privilege card. They all laughed, and they let her go. She didn't even have a license. And they let her go. Well, those officers are now disciplined, so to speak. Well, let me first remind you of the video. Here it is.
You like my white privilege card?
That's hilarious.
It's better too.
Go through death. That's good. What's up?
Put up the picture full mass here of this particular individual who flashed a white privilege card and was able to get out of a ticket. So this was in Anchorage, all right? So Anchorage police officers violated department policy. They are now facing disciplinary action. That's according to a report. The woman you're looking at, her name is Mimi. Mimi is a Trump supporter. That card represents, hey, I'm a flaming Trump supporter. And so the other Trump supporters laughed at this and let her go, all right? Now, during the traffic stop last month when Mimi was in town for a Trump rally, rather than show them her driver's license, she showed them the white privilege card that you see and was not ticketed. Days after the traffic stop, Mimi said in a Facebook post that she was pulled over for weaving at 3:43 a.m. Weaving at 3:43 a.m. while driving to a pizzeria after an early morning flight from California for the rally. The novelty card reads, white privilege card trumps everything. All right, there you have it. We actually saw these being sold on Amazon. We covered that when they were there as well. Mimi, in her Twitter biography, described herself as Filipino origin. Anchorage Police Department Director of Community Relations, Sonny Gurin. Let's put up Sonny here. So Sonny says, based on the statement to the press, it's not clear what policy was violated or what, if any, disciplinary actions the officers face because the department is treating it as a confidential personnel matter. White privilege. Confidential personnel matter here, nothing to see, fellas. All right, this is covered. We're gonna file this over in the white privilege column. There's more. Officers Nicholas Bowe and Charles Worland with the Impaired Driving Enforcement Unit conducted a traffic stop on July 7th for a car weaving in the lane, according to Sonny. She didn't identify the driver, who she said showed a white privilege card during the stop. Officers, according to their current story, observed no signs of impairment. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that weaving in and out of traffic means you're showing no signs of impairment? Okay, there's more. No citations were issued, according to Sonny, added that the officers are able to check if a person has a valid license with the help of a computer check. That's to cover their asses because they never saw a driver's license, which Bowe and Worland did. Let's put up the chief and the deputy chief here. Okay, you got Chief Michael Curley and Deputy Chief Sean Case. Michael's on the left, Sean is on the right. At the time of the incident, the chief gave a very vague, flowery response as he wanted to, and I quote, personally address the community to provide some clarity regarding their internal standards of conduct. All right, so Case said, we recognize that some saw the post and believed it was in fact inappropriate. Worland and Bowe were placed on administrative leave during an 11-day investigation. Police would not provide additional information about the investigation, including which policies were violated and what, if any, repercussions the officers faced. The investigation regarding the incident is completed and is part of the confidential personnel files that will not be released publicly. Another police spokesperson said both officers remain employed with the department. Now, the last time I checked, police officers work for the public. They're paid by taxpayers. They do not work for a private corporation. They do not work for a private entity. They are in fact public servants. But all of a sudden, there's this confidential, top secret, nobody can get access to file with a public worker. Let's put up a picture of the guy behind much of this. This is your president of the police union. All right, this is Sergeant Jeremy Cockling, president of the police union. This president said officers have discretion and generally don't cite for minor offenses, like not having a physical license present. but she was swerving in and out of traffic. At least she should have been mandated to produce a driver's license. I'm not at all surprised they did not write a citation. I don't know that a lot of officers would have written that citation, if any. Well, you have not been pulled over, sir, by the cops that have pulled me over. However, Anchorage Municipal Code requires drivers carry a license while operating a vehicle. It is a requirement in their code. Okay, let's talk about this, Adrienne. So first of all, there's a top secret database, a top secret file, where they have basically enacted some type of discipline that nobody can lay their eyes on. Obviously, the woman violated the law for Anchorage, and these officers violated policy. What am I missing here?
Well, okay, so we know that officers have considerable discretion in terms of what laws they choose to enforce. It's just always interesting about who they choose to enforce them against.
Right.
And in this circumstance, you had a woman who is playing this white privilege thing and then also taking the photo with the officer with the white privilege card. That just seems foolish, as though social media doesn't exist and as if things don't go viral. That just seems really dumb, and that makes me feel like these officers should not be on the street anyway, because their judgment is so incredibly poor and also out of touch with our society as a whole. But then to see their superiors go ahead and provide no transparency whatsoever, and to essentially shield them from any kind of repercussions just by saying, oh, we're gonna take care of it. It really shows you how this system works. And we are really funding so much money and toward this protecting and serving that really just doesn't exist much.
Yeah, I mean, that damn white privilege card works so well. There's a secret file on their discipline. Okay, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay. Welcome back. We have a lot of show left, always good to chop it up. So let's go to next TYT reporter. Karen, my pronouns are go and away, or I'll accept leave and me alone. That was good. Lynn, how does Karen know what cat meat tastes like? Okay, Conversations on Mute says, Dr. Richey, my neighbor across the street showed me his white privilege card and bragged to me about showing it when he got pulled over. Think about the worst driving record one can have, and this guy's record is worse. Needless to say, I was disgusted, but I live in MAGA country. There you go. C. Michael Henson, thank you, C. Michael. That must have been precinct 10. The precinct where the Karen didn't know the cops. There you go. That's what it was. Soul Life, thank you, Soul Life. More super chats. There you go, yes. All right, and Twitch. Jason Young, 84. Man, it's funny how tough they are till their hateful actions get them arrested. You know what's also funny? How many Trump supporters snitch when they're facing up to 30 days in jail? Have you noticed that? They're literally facing 30 days in jail with good time you get out in about 18. And they're already snitching on everybody they can, okay? They're not true believers here. All right, imagine somebody pulling a gun on you, you calling the police, and the person who pulled the gun on you all of a sudden has on a uniform now and is the police responding to your 911 call. That's exactly what happened to this individual who had a gun pulled out on him by an off-duty cop. Let's put his picture full mass. His name is Jason Leonore. So let me give you some background to this. An off-duty cop pulled out a gun on a man during a road rage incident, goes on duty. The cop then goes on duty to pull him over afterwards, and then tries to cover it up with his colleagues. The case involves that man right there. He's the victim, 33-year-old Hispanic black male. This is an incident that occurred April 2021. A lot of twists and turns here. When a man driving a green Honda pulled a gun on him during a traffic dispute, according to the Globe. Let me give a big shout out to the Globe, because if it had not been for their investigation, nobody would have believed this young brother, because the irony is so extreme. The man who pulled the gun on him turned out to be an off-duty transit cop named Jacob Green. And within moments, he allegedly began to conspire to cover up the event, according to police records, and a search warrant affidavit obtained by the Globe. After the initial encounter, both men continued driving toward Mattapan. Green radioed another officer to pull Leonore over. All right, it gets worse, according to the search warrant affidavit. Then, back in uniform, walked to Leonore's driver's side window. Despite Green's allegation that Leonore drove dangerously and accosted him in traffic, Green cited him only for marked lanes violation, a citation that obviously was ultimately thrown out. So what do you have so far? You have a cop pulls out a gun on the citizen, he's off duty. The citizen decides to call 911. What does the cop do? The cop then goes on duty, radios his buddy, hey, pull this guy over. His buddy actually initially responds, interacts with the young man, and then the off-duty, now on-duty cop decides to approach the young man as well. Green, a 22-year veteran of the Transit Police Department, returned to the station and wrote 2 police reports, once again obtained by the Globe, saying that when Leonore initially approached his car, he had grabbed his gun, but kept it on his lap. And within 2 hours of the incident, he started calling and texting another transit police officer named Kevin Davis, who then came forward to claim he witnessed the whole thing from his car while being off duty. Bull. All right, so let's go to the DA. Let's put a picture up. The Suffolk DA, district attorney at the time, Rachel Rollins, launched an investigation. Now, this is where it gets interesting, even more so. Transit police officials themselves found the incident troubling and had brought the matter to the DA. In short order, her office tapped a prosecutor from the Special Prosecutions Unit to oversee the case. And a transit police investigator obtained a search warrant for Green's and Davis's phones. But then this DA left the prosecutor's office to become the US attorney for Massachusetts earlier this year. So what happens to the investigation? Under the current DA, who is Kevin Hayden, let's put up a picture of Kevin, the case has stalled out. And an attorney for Green has claimed that the DA's office told him that the case was over and done with. GOP Governor Charlie Baker appointed Hayden, who was running in the September 6th Democratic primary. So behind the scenes, Hayden ushered in changes that compounded the issue. Let me get into that. Hayden hiring as his first assistant, Kevin Mullen, a former prosecutor and defense attorney who has represented troubled law enforcement officers and is the nephew of a retired Boston police superintendent. The DA's Special Prosecutions Unit, which is often charged with prosecuting law enforcement officials, lost nearly all of its staff in the transition, okay? Virtually everybody. It's 3 prosecutors left this spring, and Hayden has not yet filled those positions. Isn't that something? Once again, law enforcement operating in a way that's antithetical to the community, that's adversarial to transparency, that does not make sense to individuals who are in position to benefit from an actual investigation. The young man at the center of this, he was done wrong. Criminal activity happened against him. There was a cover up. You have corrupt cops. You have cops who are willing to engage in criminal activity in order to cover up a damn traffic dispute. If they're willing to do this to cover up a traffic dispute, what else do you think they'll do? What else do you think they have done? None of this stuff is ever linear. It is always multifaceted. All right, Attorney Lawrence, thoughts here.
Without a doubt, I think you're absolutely right in that this isn't the first time and it damn sure won't be the last because there is not sufficient accountability. As you have acknowledged, the Globe really deserves considerable credit for this, for unearthing this and bringing it to light and seeing how all of these pieces are, they're all working and operating together to silence a man who was the victim in this situation. And it really speaks to the abuses of power that go on and that are continued to be perpetuated because you have people within the system who are operating it and who are doing favors favors for each other and looking out for each other so that there is no accountability whatsoever. And at the end of the day, it is us, we the people, who ultimately end up suffering, yet we are also the ones who are paying for their wages, who are taking care of these people. So there just needs to be better accountability and also greater transparency, because situations like this should never happen.
The reality is so diabolical when you consider the facts. And here's the fact: we are forced to pay for our own oppression. Our tax dollars go to individuals who would prefer to oppress us rather than liberate us. All right. Another very sad story, apparent racism. Let me take you to Missouri. A Missouri water park decided to turn away a black family and had no justification on record. Here's the video.
We had a very much
cancel on a kid's birthday party, a private party, because of
you're not comfortable.
Because you're not comfortable with what are you uncomfortable with?
Because we're black. Because we're black. Because we're black. Because we're black. Because we're black.
What makes you uncomfortable? I can respect you.
I got a lot of background to this story. So according to the report, the kids actually saved their money. They paid for this. It was prepaid. The individual who decided not to allow them to enjoy the festivities that they paid for simply felt uncomfortable with all of these black people, obviously. Let me give you background. Let's put up a picture of the family, all right? They never should have experienced this. Justice should be served quickly here. I was just in disbelief that this was happening, LaShawn Evans said of what was supposed to be her son's 15-year-old Noah and 17-year-old Isaiah Evans pool party. I was hoping to have fun with my friends before we start school again, to end the summer. This was their money, said Chris Evans, the father. The teens claim they reserved a full facility rental and paid a month in advance with their own money. The water park's supposed reason for the refusal is this. Lee's Summit officials on Monday defended canceling a black teenager's birthday party over the weekend, saying about 500 teens, about twice the number planned, showed up at the Summit Waves aquatic facility. The contract to rent out the Summit Waves was for 250 people. But Chris Evans said the family had rented extra security and planned to limit the number of people allowed inside the 250. After 250, nobody could get in, a simple enforcement of the rules. Chris Evans said, we didn't have keys to the door to just come in and do what we wanted. The park officers' capacity to accommodate more than 250 guests. Let me get into that. Among its rental options, now check this out. The Aquatic Center offers after-hour party rentals of its entire facility for various size groups. A small group for 100 or less guests, medium groups 100 to 250, large groups 251 to 1,400 guests. So the facility can hold capacity 1,400 according to the website. So when they say, oh my goodness, we have a problem with so many black people at one time, well, your facility can hold triple that. There's more. Let's put up the mayor here, okay? So Lee Summit Mayor, his name is William Byard, urged the city and the city parks and recreation to reevaluate their approach, and saying an investigation is currently underway. The city is promising also a full refund. Now, there was an update to this story, but before I get to that update, let me remind everyone, first of all, there's a protocol established. If you say, okay, 250 individuals, that's your cutoff, you don't simply stop individuals from engaging, you make sure that the cutoff is enforced. And if you're not going to be a jerk about it, if you have the room, well, you accommodate. That's what you do. You accommodate in situations like this. We're talking about children who save their money. who made the responsible decision to engage in a controlled environment and have a pool party with friends and family members. These are good kids. And the employee only cited how uncomfortable she was with them. Adrienne, there seems to be an update to this story. What are your thoughts about this? And can you provide any additional updates to it?
Yes, so it is my understanding that the parents of the children who were renting that out, that they have held a press conference today, and that it's highly likely that there will be, essentially, that they will be pursuing their legal remedies and rights available, because they absolutely should. As you noted, the woman said that her only concern was feeling uncomfortable. How often have we heard that from individuals? What it says to me is that you're an other, that there is something about your very existence that I am not comfortable with because you are not like me. And in this situation, you cannot tell me it wasn't race. Without a doubt, the fact is that my opinion is that she saw a bunch of black people and she said, no, can't have this. Those people don't look like me. They are different. I don't want them here. And it's just so incredibly unfortunate and upsetting, especially in light of the history of white people excluding black people from pools and from establishments. And it just really shows you that that legacy of racism, the things that went on during Jim Crow, are still going on today.
There were so many ways to handle this as a professional. There were so many ways to engage this family as a consumer, a customer, someone who patronizes that particular park, that particular pool. But instead, they decided to take a very adversarial approach, and now there's an investigation, and the mayor has expressed negative sentiment about what happened. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay. Welcome back. Okay, we got a lot of show left. Let me read a couple of these comments. Travel Nurse Dragon says, screw the refund. They owe them their money back and a free party for up to 1,400 guests. And they also owe them money for emotional distress, all right? Punitive can be allocated as well. Jason Ziha, what? Was there a phone booth nearby? Talking about the off-duty cop. Tony W, I mean, I get the concept of, damn, that's a massive group, but that's about it. Nothing more. All right, okay. Utah officers, specifically 2 white Utah officers, they see a black male bleeding to death and they do absolutely nothing to assist, and the man bled out. Let me show you a picture of the victim and his sons, okay? He actually has 4 sons. 39-year-old Ryan Outlaw is the victim of 2 white Utah officers who decided to stand over this black male after he was stabbed. They stood over this victim for 8 minutes, refusing to give first aid. Because of the officer's deliberate inaction, the victim, Ryan Outlaw, died 2 hours later. Outlaw's girlfriend, Fernando Tabor, called 911 the night of November 13, 2020, asking for help because Mr. Outlaw had been stabbed in an apartment building. Another call came in from a neighbor notifying the police there was a fight happening in the hallway, per Fox's report. Tobar told the police he was crying for help and limping toward the elevator. Now, let me say this. When I watched the video, unfortunately, we're unable to show it in this format. It was very clear the officers had absolutely no inclination to save the life of this victim. As a matter of fact, when the girlfriend said, why are you letting him bleed out like this? Why won't you help him? One of the officers responded and said, that's not my job. Paramedics on the way. All right, that's not what I do. I'm paraphrasing, that's basically what they said. Officers Ian Anderson and Jada Brown arrived 27 minutes after the 911 call. Ryan Outlaw already waited approximately 27 minutes for police to arrive after that call. According to the Salt Lake City Police Department, the reason the response took that long was because there weren't any officers available to respond for 20 minutes. It was not immediately known by officers that Tobar, the girlfriend, was the stabber. However, even Fernanda was pleading with the officers, talking about the young woman who stabbed him, was pleading with the officers, please help him. What am I supposed to do? The officer said, we have medical coming. We're not paramedics, Officer Anderson said. So what is happening here? The girlfriend stabs the guy. She's remorseful because obviously he's going to die without intervention. So he's bleeding out. They're all witnessing the same thing. They're witnessing a man die in front of them. Police arrive. The police tell her, we're not going to do nothing. That's not our job. Paramedics on the way. There's more. Ryan Outlaw died at the hospital less than 2 hours after police arrived. The officers were trained and capable to give first aid. They were, but they chose not to. All police officers undergo, all of them undergo 4 hours of basic first aid and CPR training and complete an 8-hour critical tactical care class, according to Utah Peace Officer Standards and Training. It's called post certification, okay? We know now that these officers not only were supposed to act in a way to preserve life, they were trained to preserve life. They decided to ignore their protocol, to ignore their departmental policy, and to ignore their training, and they allowed a black man to bleed to death in front of them. All right, Attorney Lawrence, thoughts here.
It's so incredibly disappointing because, again, as you noted, those officers had the training. They knew that they could potentially save his life or at least delay the rush of blood just to protect him in some way, and yet they chose not to. And the thing is, when people get to choose who gets to live and who gets to die, it really just speaks to the callousness of our society, especially when it's constant, or it seems to be overwhelmingly people who do not look like these police officers who are the ones that they choose not to help save. And when you call police for help and for assistance, you'd expect them to automatically send someone who is there to assist, to help. But this is often what we get.
Yeah, and these officers had a great opportunity to bridge the divide between community and cop. What did they choose to do? They decided to make it even wider. All right, Adrienne, always a pleasure having you on the show. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
You can check me out on Rebel HQ, which is on YouTube as well as Facebook. Also, I am on Twitter at Adrienne Law and on Instagram at Adrienne Lawrence.
Thank you so much. All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable. Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richey. We got a lot happening today. What do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was the white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. if it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.